A beautiful Sunday morning and another edition of the Bet Out of That show. It's June 6th. Patrick and I are here to bring some good information. We have people in the chat. I see you, Tony Johnson, in the chat. Coach Eddie George is up in the chat. Derek Anthony. Miss Jams is a regular, coming all the way from Tucson, Arizona. I like Old Town Tucson. When I go there for business, that's where I eat. That's where I kick it. So it's good to see you guys. Patrick, what are we going to share today? Let's share some good information today. We have some people here eager to hear what we have to say. So let's see what we can do about sharing that knowledge and bringing that heat that we talked about yesterday. So, Patrick, without further ado, let's get to it.
Okay, so just want to welcome everybody to the show. It's always a pleasure to speak on about investing and savings and preparing for the future financially. So today I'm going to share putting money in a traditional savings account versus having this money into the stock market, because most people are underinvested in the stock market. So what I would like to do is show the various savings accounts that may be available to the consuming the investing public. So if I may share my screen, just give me one moment.
All right.
And then I will show you the differences of the various savings accounts first over a 5-year period. So here, Marcus by Goldman Sachs has the highest savings of some of the most popular savings accounts. So here we have a 0.5% for the Marcus, whereas the national average is 0.1%. Bank of America even less than that. Chase even less than that. Citibank 0.04. I mean, so on and so forth. Wells Fargo 0.01%. Now, this is the amount that you would earn over a 5-year period. So $25 for the top of the heap Marcus over a 5-year period, and then over a 10-year period, you may save up to $51 if you just put $1,000 into this account, and not invest anymore.
Wait a minute, Patrick. Are you telling me in a normal bank account, in a
Yes.
normal savings account,
Yes.
Marcus beats everybody as far as Bank of America, Chase, Citibank, Wells Fargo, some of the popular names that we know. When it comes to saving money, if you put $1,000 in and it lasts for how long, how much will you return?
Over 5 years, you will return $25.
So you'll make $25 in 5 years in your
5 years.
In your high interest savings account.
Yes, your quote unquote high interest savings account this is Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
And so Bank of America over 5 years will return you what?
$3 over 5 years.
So if you put $1,000 into Chase, you would get what?
$1. As Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd would say, $1.
$1. So Marcus is just showing you how they make such a large return in comparison to the national average. So what would the national average, the regular savings and loan bank, what would that return you, national average?
$5.
So in 5 years, you would make $5 big to go out and ball out of control. Okay.
Exactly. And then over a 10-year period, That's national average is $10, whereas Goldman Sachs, they give you half a C note, $51.
Perfect. That's big returns when it comes to savings in a bank. What are some of the
Yes,
other banks? I know we have people who bank with Bank of America, which looks like they have a pretty competitive account compared to some of the other larger banks, Chase and Citibank.
yes.
Okay.
So
So,
now I know the press likes to highlight when the market keeps crashing, and they seem to indicate. You go to CNN Money, you go to ABC, CBS. You know, these this media complex seems to highlight when the market goes down, but they don't really talk about how strong the market is when it recovers and actually does well in predicting the national economy. So what I would like to do is show the average return over 5 years and 10 years, when we look at the market as a whole and some of the popular indexes, as well as compare that to some of the popular ETFs that one can invest in.
so
So,
Patrick, before we go there,
yes,
Mr. Eddie George had a question, and he says, any idea what's made with credit unions such as Boeing Employees Credit Union out here in Seattle, BECU? I would say that would probably lump into the national average or somewhere around those numbers.
yes,
So that would be the question there, Mr. George. Continue, Patrick.
absolutely. So, what I'd like to do first of all is compare the popular indexes and their performances over a 5 year term. So if you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, yes, you can see the it's volatile over a period of time, especially here, as when the lockdowns took place during the coronavirus 19 pandemic. However, if you look at a 5 year return on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, that has given you a 99.74% return versus 0.05% on
Wait a
the.
minute, Patrick. You're going to have to repeat that, and you're going to have to blow that up a little bit because this is a mic drop.
Yes. So give me 1 second. So this
Is a
is
5 year return.
a 5 year return. We're talking about the same period of time as what we were talking about when Marcus of Goldman Sachs in the savings account will give you a 0.05%, no, a 0.5% return on your money. But Dow Jones Industrial Average, if you invested alongside with that, would have gotten you the market return 99.74%. Then the S&P, which is a broader index, so it's going to have more tech and more industrials. It's a broader based index.
Can you point
It's
to
also
those,
very
Patrick?
popular.
Can you point to those as you're talking those? It's hard to
Yeah,
see on the
yeah. I'm
screen.
sorry.
Yeah.
So this is the return on the S&P 500. I hope everyone can see that.
Yeah.
So this has returned 107% or so over a 5 year period. So competitive with the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So the two of them pretty much going, in lockstep. Now, if you were to look at the NASDAQ composite,
Please point.
that
Please point. Yep.
yeah, that has returned an even more impressive 193% over a 5 year period. Now, the NASDAQ is more aggressive than the S&P or the Dow Jones Industrial Average because it consists of mostly tech, but you have some fintech and other smaller non-tech companies as well. Now I'm going to go to the next tab.
Now, Patrick, before you go to the next tab, can we go back
Yeah.
there for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going live, and I'm not sure how much you can pinch and blow that up a bit, but one
Yeah.
thing, one thing to consider here is we're talking about a 5-year return with the pandemic. We had just had the COVID pandemic where, the whole world shut down, and you can see that right there. That's it.
Yeah, this is where the economy shut down. The world economy shut down from March of 2020, and this is a precipitous drop that took about maybe a month to complete.
So,
but then, as you can see, it's a V-shaped recovery.
And then what the other thing to point out here is we're talking about indices. So before we start running off into other items, where we first wanted to start was with the banks, because everybody put their money in the bank. Yours truly, everyone does. If you make earned income from a company, it goes to a bank or you cash it in a bank. Most people leave their money in savings, and it's there and they save. And so the media scares us from just the market, but the safest bet in the market, bet meaning investing, is an indice. So what we're doing at level 1 here, and we're going to go a couple of different levels of risk, but this is the lower level of risk, and that is the Dow Jones, the S&P, and the NASDAQ. Those are indices that they are a basket of stocks. So when you buy this index fund, you'll get in diversity automatically, and they're proven over, over 30, 40, 50, 100 years in the case of a Dow, going back 100 years. So these are proven. And so over time, you can see that if you just bought the index, you would make money. So there is a differentiation between the Dow and the S&P 500. People confuse that, Patrick. Would you like to share the difference between the Dow and the S&P 500, like as far as the constituents?
Yes. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average is a select basket of 30 large companies, whereas the S&P 500 is a market-weighted index that encapsulates the largest 500 companies that are traded on the American stock exchanges. So that's going to include your Dow 30 as well, but it's going to have other companies such as some of the higher some of the larger cap names such as Nvidia or Tesla or whatnot that might not be in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but are still very large companies. The NASDAQ here is just mostly tech stocks, but some other stock companies from other industries that have not listed on the New York Stock Exchange for whatever reason. And they're also large cap. And this is also a widely followed index. And again, this is just over a 5-year period. Now, Troy, if I may show the audience what the 10-year return would be.
Okay, so let's go back 10 years, right after the 2008 housing market crash and everyone lost their money. And I guess the point we're trying to make here is the market always recovers. So go ahead. Let's look at 10-year returns on the indices.
So this is the 10-year return of the same indices. So the magenta is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That has returned over a 10-year period 186%. The S&P 500, 227%. The NASDAQ composite, 401%. So again, these are largely industrial stocks. They have some tech, but not a lot. The S&P 500 has a little bit more tech and a little bit more aggressive growth companies. But again, these are large cap stocks. And the NASDAQ National Board, these are the large cap stocks, generally large cap stocks on the NASDAQ dealer exchange.
And so with that, you would think the Dow Jones indices index, because it's only 30 stocks, would outperform the S&P 500, which is a diverse basket of the 500 largest companies traded on the American Stock Exchange. But what you see here is the S&P, the Dow does not perform as well as the S&P. The S&P only returned 186% in 10 years, where, the Dow only did 186%, and the S&P 500 did 227%. But
exactly.
But for us tech-centric people, and the world is going more tech, we recommend the NASDAQ index. So if you buy the NASDAQ index, you would have got double the return, 400% in 10 years. So, and then we could show some additional stuff. But I really wanted to emphasize that because the media, I have no money in savings. And people do not realize that in the market, for those who are new to the market is really liquid. So when you buy indices, literally you put your money in, you press the bid price. I'm going to do a future show on market making and how to get in and out of the market, how liquid it is. And liquidity is just a fancy name for getting in and out, get your money in and out. That's all liquidity means. And so I'm going to do a future show, Patrick. We'll do one on liquidity and market making and how easy it is to get in. But they don't make it easy because you have to go out, set out this brokerage account. You have to wire your money into a brokerage account. But then you can buy these indices. And monthly, the smart money will put their money, instead of in a bank, they will actually, you can set up at most companies, including the company I work for, you can have money drawn directly from your employer and go right to a brokerage account like TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, to name a few. Or you can have E-Trade, TD Ameritrade and company just pull from your bank and invest your money in a simple index fund. Very little risk. There's always risk, but very little risk. But go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, and again, these are widely followed indexes. So if these indexes do take a dump or take a quite the decline, such as here during the COVID-19 crisis, that means the whole world is going through some black swan or some adverse event that will affect the world economy and health and welfare of mankind. But in the end, these indexes always recover and go to new highs.
And I think you can say always recover because they always have. They recovered through the 1988, I believe it was, the Black Monday. They recovered through the dot-com 1999 2000 crash. They recovered through the 2008 market credit swap crash. They recovered through the pandemic. If you stay in the market over time, you will win, period.
Yeah.
And that is a true statement, and it has not been an untrue statement in over 100 years. So I like those odds because being in the market is all about probability and odds. That's what we're talking here, probability. All right, Patrick, continue, please.
Okay, so this is, again, these are the 10-year returns of the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, and the Nasdaq. What I'd like to show you now are the various ETFs one could buy to participate in this growth. So here, I'm looking at a 5-year return based on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. There's a ETF called the Diamonds, or DIA, on the New York Stock Exchange, and it closely mimics the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And over a 5-year period of time, it's given you close to 100% return over 5 years. If you look at the SPY, that's the Spider ETF that is based on the S&P 500. So if you're looking for the diversification of the S&P 500, you're unsure what stocks, if you want to buy individual stocks in the long run, or you're not sure about how to invest your money, this is a really, really good choice, because as I've said in a previous video, most, if not all, fund managers, and I'm including even a relatively short period of time, over 5 years, fail to beat the S&P 500 index. The QQQ here, which is based on the NASDAQ 100, which is a subsector of the NASDAQ composite, that encompasses 100 of the top stocks in the NASDAQ composite. And again, this is a mostly tech-weighted index. So to reiterate what I said in the previous video, it's going to include your Apples, Tesla, NVIDIA, Lam Research, and Tesla. I said Tesla.
Yeah.
And Alphabet, to name a few.
Alphabet being Google, for those who are not familiar with.
Google. That's right.
Yeah, which is Alphabet.
So this is returned close to 200% over a 5-year period. So these are highly liquid ETFs that one can invest in, and you can just kind of buy and hold. They also return a dividend. And I think the average return on the average, you can get like a 1% dividend, which is better than the high quality Marcus savings account by Goldman Sachs. The dividend yield itself, not to mention the capital gain, is higher than that of Marcus.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool of you. You had $100,000 into the. Is this the QQQ, Patrick?
This is the QQQ here.
Yeah. So if you had $100,000 in the QQQ, you'll just, in dividends alone, you'll get $1,000 paid out for a year.
Exactly.
You'll get $1,000 a year just in dividend payments for just holding it. So that's pretty cool.
And that's on top of the
appreciation.
The gain.
Yeah, the appreciation of the stock of
the appreciation
of the ETF,
right, so,
I should say. Sorry, Patrick.
No problem. So, if, for example, if you take that $100,000 notional that we're discussing right now, and invested it into the NASDAQ 100, the QQQ ETF, over a 5-year period, that would be close to I think 300,000 by now. That's crazy, because we're talking about 193% return.
Yeah. Oh shoot! And I did 1,000. So my bad. You'd be close to 2,000 in a year. I'm doing my math wrong, and I am an engineer. Sorry, but you would get close to 2,000. 1%. Sorry, my math was right. It's 1%. Sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
So anyway, so that's what you would return. So you would end up close to 300,000 with a $100,000 investment, or for $1,000 investment, $3,000 you would have. Okay, and this is over a 10-year period now. So the Dow Jones would have given you like the diamond ETF would have given you 186% return. The S&P 500 Spider would have given you a 227% return, and then the Nasdaq 100 QQQs would have given you a 401% return. And that's outside of dividends. This is just purely capital appreciation.
Now, Patrick, now, people who have financial literacy and maybe have a little extra money in their pockets, right? Or some people who have a little more risk and know that the market historically returns what we're showing, who may want to pull even money out of their house because your house, second, you're paying what 4 or 5%. So some do even more aggressive strategies. But let's say you put $100,000 here, and 5 years later you had 400,000.
No, this is 10 years later.
10 years later, okay. 10 years later,
yeah.
You had 400.
5 years later, you would have gotten
200, close to 200. So
it'd be up to close to
300,000. Sorry.
So this is a return based on a percentage.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so that's close to 200. One could easily in 5 years buy your car off of your money, not off of your earned income, but off of the money your money made. That's the point.
Yes.
That's the point.
And the beautiful thing about these ETFs is that the management fee is minimal. So you're talking about maybe 0.35% of some of these ETFs is the management fee. Whereas you go to a mutual fund or go to a financial advisor, they usually charge a good 2%, or it's much higher than that.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking if I want me a brand new Tesla, which I do, and I ordered the Cyber Ugly truck in 2019, there is no way I'm going to pay for that out of my pocket. That's not going to come from my earned income. I'm actually using strategies, and let's say I've already used strategies to pay for it. So I do not pay for things like that, Patrick, out of my earned income from my job. I let my money make money, and strategies are what we're showing right here. And then I take those profits, and then I can buy my new car. I can buy my furniture. I can do remodeling in my house with that type of money. And so you can see 5 years from now you will want a new car, right? So then you could put that money to work in a relative safe investment. That the caveat is you just cannot pull it out if you have one of those crazy black swan events where a pandemic, a housing crash, something,
terrorist attack,
a terrorist attack, 9/11. Those type of things are like big market hits. But the beautiful thing is historically the market recovers in about 1 to 2 years historically. So
not only does it
go ahead.
Sorry, not only does it recover, but it goes to a new high.
Exactly.
And keeps climbing.
So continue, Patrick. I think we're beating this up to death, but go ahead.
Okay, some of the subsectors for those who have a little bit extra money to invest once they've established a base of widely followed ETFs based on the popular indexes, is you could take a look at the subsectors here, which is let me see.
Click on settings, I believe. Or compare.
Yeah. Let me see what's going on here. Oh, okay. No, that's not what I wanted. So, but anyways, you could say, if you wanted to take a look at the semiconductor index, you want to take a look at the Russell 2000 and the financials. Okay, just give me 1 second. The financials, which would be the XLF. Okay, so the over a 5-year period here, so that's going to give you the Dow Jones Industrial Average is about roughly 100%. As I said before, the financials over a 5-year period will give you a very similar result as the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
What percentage is that? Because we can't see the screen is really small.
Yeah. If I try to expand the screen, it might distort. So
I'm just saying, say it.
But
yeah, say it out loud.
it's about 101% if you go with the XLF. I just want to make sure I'm not. Give me 1 second. Yeah, the Russell 2000. I apologize. The Russell 2000 is that's the small cap index that one can invest in, and it's somewhat more aggressive, and they're based on what they call small cap. Any companies that have a market cap of about 300 million to 2 billion, and it's also widely followed. If you want a little bit of diversification there, and then the XLF. Let me see. Is the financials, like it will include the big money center banks, some of the investment banks like Goldman Sachs itself, and Morgan Stanley, mostly financials, and that's returned 114% over a 5-year period. But then you look at the subsector of the NASDAQ composite, and this is the SMH Semiconductor Index. That over a 5-year period has given you 356%. So if you invested $1,000 in the SMH 5 years ago, today that would be worth close to around $4,500.
Yep. So Patrick, I mean, just really good information. Go ahead. Is that 5-year or that was the 10-year?
That was the 5-year.
Okay.
I'll give you the 10-year investing return. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average returned, or the diamonds returned 180%. Very somewhat less with the I think the Russell 2000, which is the orange line here. So it seems to, I mean, sometimes it'll diverge from the Dow, but for the most part, it follows the Dow, the Russell 2000 index. And you can invest in that ETF. Let me see what the financials returned 208% over a 10-year period. But then the subsector here, the SMA Semiconductor Index, provided a 637% return over a 10-year period.
And that's why we like that ETF so much. And that's why we talk about this ETF so much on the show. But go ahead, Patrick.
Well, not only that, well, this is, again, like the world needs semiconductors. The semiconductors there's always been a shortage of semiconductor products. But this is even more pervasive right now because of all of this pent-up demand, and the world is clawing itself out of the pandemic. So you have everybody wanting to upgrade their computers. They want to do crypto currency mining. They want to, kids want to get the latest Xbox 5, the Xbox One or the PlayStation 5. And there's just too much demand. So a lot of the chip makers cannot keep up with that demand, and that's always been the case over a period of time. That's why companies such as NVIDIA, Lam Research, KLA Tencor, Taiwan Semiconductor, and the like have always outperformed not only the Dow Jones Industrial Average or the S&P, but also the NASDAQ QQQs.
Yeah. So, and won't you explain what a semiconductor is? Because it's just a big name for chips, right?
Yeah, they're microprocessors. I mean, and there are various types of microprocessors. I mean, I think the largest market of semiconductors is the CPU,
Yeah.
and that's where you're going to find your AMDs and your Intels. Now, there's something called a GPU, which is for video graphics. That gives you they're more aggressive, they're more powerful, and they're like a really powerful. It's like a brain turned on steroids, and that's where NVIDIA is. They're the leader of the GPU. In fact, they invented the GPU.
Yeah, I know AMD is also a big stock in that GPU, graphics processing unit. That's what GPU stands for, in that
Yes.
sector as well. But when we talk SMH and the tech sector, the reason why I am so bullish, which means want to buy, I'm long, all of those terms they use in the financial market. I'm bullish on SMH because everything runs off of chips these days. So you're talking about video games and stuff like that, but I mean you can look at your television, you
Yeah.
can look at your cars. Your cars have over 100 different chips in your car today, like your Prius and things of that nature. They have tons of chips in it. So refrigerators, all kinds of things. The Internet of Things is connecting everything. So,
Yes.
and then your phones have multiple different chips and graphic processors and computers. And so as everything goes more connected, 5G and all of that, how could you not bet or invest into the semiconductor space? It's just the future. Everything has to run off of chips. And then lastly, Patrick, look at
Yes.
the chip shortage we have right now because of the whole pandemic cycle and what
Yeah.
happened there. You know what happened there, right? The pandemic hit, companies thought sales would go down, so they cut their orders to Taiwan Semi and Company. And then orders did not go down because people were at home for the pandemic. People were actually
Yes.
playing video games and watching Netflix and stuff more. So then the demand, they underestimated the demand. And so then when they went in to reorder, it takes a long time to get those chips out. So just because of the chip shortages, Ford announced billions of dollars of loss in sales that they could have had, but they don't have enough chips to build the cars, to put in the cars. So they reported billions of dollars of losses that in the future that will come up because they cannot produce the cars because the chips are not available. And other industries are affected by that. But go ahead, Patrick. I was,
Yes.
on a
That's
rant.
okay. And yesterday I was at a local computer store, and I inquired about the next generation of NVIDIA graphics cards. And they are limiting one purchase per person. And then if you've already bought a card, you can't buy multiple ones. You have to wait 30 days before you can order a next one. In fact, the sales associate when I was at this computer store yesterday here in the LA area, and it was a very very big computer store. He pointed out to the tents out there. He says, "You see those people over there? Man, they are camping out for the next batch of NVIDIA cards that get released to the public."
Wow.
That's how severe the chip shortage is.
Yeah.
And again, SMH, as to me, sticks out as a real winner. And another reason why I like this one, it pays a dividend of about 1.5%. Again, it beats the highly illustrious Marcus by Goldman Sachs, and it has a Morningstar 5-star rating. So it's a highly recommended ETF by the professionals who rate mutual funds and ETFs and other managed funds or passive funds. And you will see this index, this ETF, widely discussed on CNBC.
Yeah, Patrick. So let's continue. I think we made a big boy case for SMH. That's for sure.
Okay.
I was just looking at Marv account, Marvin Jenkins. He's in the chat. Yes, Marv, you own some SMH. And this is the reason why you own some SMH. But
exactly.
Let's continue.
Okay, so let's do a recap of the returns of a 5-year period and a 10-year period. So this is the value of a $1,000 investment as it yields interest over a 5-year period. Now, Marcus provides, if you had $1,000 you invested in the Marcus account, you would have 1,025. So essentially, that's a 2.5% return. You go to the Dow Jones Industrial Average now, like if you put some money into the market, and this is a widely followed ETF, you would have roughly $2,000. You would have doubled your money if you over a 5-year period. The QQQ tripled your money. The SMH 4 times your money, between 4 and 5 times your money, and some of the lesser known or lesser returning indexes like the financial sector, you would have doubled your money over a 5-year period, and the Russell 2000, which is similar to the Dow's performance, $2,000 you would have gotten. So that's essentially 101%. So the fact is that they're beating your traditional savings account. And here's the value of $1,000 over a 10-year period. So here, Marcus would have given you $51. And that's a 5.1%. But then you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is kind of the market, if you will, and that would have given you close to 3 times your investment. The QQQs, close to 6 times your investment. The SMH, 8 times your investment. Powerful semiconductors. And the financials would have given you maybe 3 times your money, we would have 3 times your money. And the Russell would have given you very similar to the Dow, close to 3 times your money. And these are the percentage returns over a 5-year period, over a 10-year period.
Wow. So you got your 5, 10-year based on a $1,000 investment in both cases.
Yes.
Powerful stuff. So, Patrick, you can unshare your screen, please. It's been a while since I've seen you, my friend. We've been going on and on for a good amount of minutes here.
Okay, give me 1 second. So,
thank you, sir. Yeah.
Unshare screen.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah, that was good stuff, Patrick. I mean, really good stuff. So I think the first thing where it starts is it all starts with, is it worth it to go through the extra effort to set up a TD Ameritrade account or an E-Trade account? And it's really, really simple. It is so simple that I did a past, you and I shouldn't say I did, but I did the talking, but we did a past show, maybe a month or so ago, Patrick, on how to open a TD Ameritrade account?
Yeah, something like that. And then you walk through the steps. It's very, very easy. And if you're having problems, the customer support is excellent. They'll walk you through the entire process.
They want your money. They want your money.
And that's what I've done with my 83-year-old cousin, well, relative, and I set him up with a Charles Schwab account, and he's making money.
Yeah, you make money on your money. And then for those who are a little older, like myself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 25 years with the company I work for. This month, June the 25th, June 21st, I'm sorry, it makes 25 years with the company I'm with. So I'm approaching retirement in the future. But, I mean, you have to park your money somewhere. So it's just insanely asinine and crazy to park your money in a savings account in a bank. It makes no sense.
Especially as it is again so easy to open up an account, and today's brokerages do not charge any commissions on stock and ETF trades.
Good
And
point.
if you, I guess, if you open up a Robinhood account, even an options trade, if you want to be more adventurous.
Exactly, Patrick. So that's the point we really wanted to make. Just having some side conversations. I know people are afraid of the market, and you don't even have to pick stocks and participate in the
Mm-hmm.
trading. All you have to do is buy you a QQQ ETF or buy you the NASDAQ and get 400% over 10 years or 200% or 300% or whatever it was over 5 years. You just we're just talking about strategies of where you park your money before you spend it. You'll be making money monthly, and
In fact, I think it's risky just to park your money in a savings account, even if it is Marcus, because inflation will erode the value of that $1,000 over a 5 year period or a 10 year period. I mean, if you're only returning $51 over a 10 year period, inflation's running at 2.5%, generally speaking, that's on the average, and Marcus is only giving you 0.5%, you're losing money.
exactly. So I think the point is made for those who are unfamiliar with the brokerage account. What is a brokerage account? We have a video on that, so you could just go and look at some of our videos. You can go to www.betoutofdebt.com. All of the videos are laid out there very simply. You can also contact us through www.betoutofdebt.com. So it's just all laid out easily, or you can just look at it on the YouTube channel. We have excerpts to show you certain strategies and certain ways to do these type of things. So, feel free to reach out to that and take a look. All right, Patrick, before we go here, let's talk about our conversation yesterday about Kevin O'Leary. I thought that was an interesting conversation when he said about people who work for others and financial independence. Would you like to share that?
Yes, indeed. I came across this YouTube video, and Kevin O'Leary, for those who may not know who Kevin O'Leary is, he is someone who's established a mutual fund or investment company, and he has a couple of ETFs of his own on the market. So he's a very, very successful business person. He's also on the Shark Tank on CNBC, and he's one of the regular sharks. He Mark Cuban's also there. There's the founder of Fubu is also there. So, anyways, you have all these business people, and it's a show where regular Joes who want to start their business go to these sharks for funding. But anyways, Kevin O'Leary is a very, very successful person, and he's got some good name recognition throughout the financial and business world. In this video that I'm referring to, he talked about owning a business and pursuing your dreams versus working for somebody else in the long run. And he simply said that an employer will give you a salary almost as a reward, a small reward for giving up your dreams. So it's like a disincentive to pursue your dreams. And that's what Kevin Lurie says. He says, if you work for somebody else, you're not going to have time to, I guess, really work on what you're really passionate about and being, in the long run, truly, truly successful.
That's powerful. That's extremely powerful. And I wanted to share that with our audience in closing, because I know Eddie George, Coach Eddie George. He's on, and he owns a business, a successful business here in Seattle, and he is also the coach. He also coaches my son, and he comes from a family of business owners. His dad owns businesses. His brother owns businesses. He owns businesses, and he's an inspiration to my son. And so I thought it was really, really powerful to kind of share that, how we have bought into cashing in on our dreams by getting a small fee to say, give up your dreams so that you can pursue my dream. And I'll give you this token to give up on your dreams of financial independence. So I just thought that was pretty powerful. I wanted to share that. Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, he's pretty popular, and he's a pretty smart. I think he's a billionaire. If he's not a billionaire, he's close to it.
Very close to it, and he graduated from a top school with his and with an MBA in business, and then he started off as a journalist, and then now he's just gotten into fund management and entrepreneurship, and he's a very funny, very controversial shark on the Shark Tank. For those who haven't watched Shark Tank, you should definitely tune into it on CNBC. I think it's there at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, Monday to Friday. It's really funny.
Yes,
but you will learn a lot though about entrepreneurship and how to raise money.
Yeah, it's a good show, and so I guess where that leads us to is, if we're working for someone else, which most of us do, and I just said one person does not, but it's just important to just have financial literacy, and having your own business is a real big part of it. I know I was just talking to a person yesterday about a business I'm looking into investing in and being a part of here in Seattle. But it's just important to invest. It's important to live your dreams. It's important to have financial literacy. That's what this show is about. This show is about financial literacy. That's what we come on to do. So share the video, share what we're talking about with your friends. Subscribe. Hit the bell, too, when you subscribe so that you can get an email. If you missed the show, email will pop up and you can see the show later. But that's really what it all comes down to. And Patrick, it looks like you were about to say something.
No, just pursue your dreams. But first and foremost, have a financial base. And what I would encourage people to do is to teach their kids at a very, very young age, because unfortunately, the school system does not provide adequate education on financial literacy. And that's why a lot of people can't even put $1,000, $400 together in case of some kind of emergency happens.
Yeah, it's sad. And Patrick, I know we go ahead. Sorry.
And I don't want any members of this audience to go through pain like that. You have to start early.
Yeah, and I just, before we tap out here on the show today, it just reminds me of our conversation from yesterday, and we were talking about how blessed we feel that we know how to make money outside of earned income, and how that feels. So it's a whole different feeling it's a whole different mentality when you have to depend on a job. That's what I mean by earned income. You have to go work for someone else to make money. But when you can make money on your own through business, through investments in real estate, through the markets, through smart placing your capital in places where it does not come from earned income. It's a whole different system, but I don't want to sound too preachy and I do not want to sound too braggadocious. I'm just
Mhm.
hoping that others take it for what it is and just practice and appreciate some of the strategies that we're talking about here. And it's a blessing, Patrick. It is.
It,
So,
it is.
yeah.
It
So
is.
if you like what you hear, like the video, hit the bell, subscribe. Um, and yeah, it is. That's what it is, Patrick. So let's wrap up. Unless you have something
Okay.
else, Patrick.
No, I think I'm fine for now. I think I think we've done a really good segment here.
Okay. All right. Well, shoot, Patrick. If that's the case, well, that's another Bet Out of Debt show. And, we call it the Bet Out of Debt show because when you invest in the market, it's called placing a bet. Or investing period is called placing a bet because we're playing a probability game. No one knows where anything is going to go in actuality. It's all about the probability. I like 100-year probability of always going up versus being very, very safe and getting a $5 return over 5 years. So, yeah. So we're closing. We call it the Bet Out of Debt show because when you place a trade, it's called placing a bet. And hopefully it's a winner one that will keep you out of debt. And as always, keep investing. And we will see you next week. And in a few weeks, we will see you from Las Vegas. Take care.
Indeed.
All right. Goodbye.